Hello, my name is Alan, and today I'm facilitating the first of 4 sessions of Jason Cordova's PBTA game, The Between. Now, The Between is a game, and I'm going to refer here to the information that I've kind of cobbled together for my description of it. This is a PBTA game available from Drive-Thru, by the way, set in a Gothic Victorian London where a group of characters occupy the liminal space between London by day and with all its squalor and degradation. This is about 1870, I think works best. Uh, and London by night, where that squalor and degradation is augmented by the supernatural. They are monster hunters, committed to protecting London and all its people from those things that also sit between reality and unreality. This is heavily flavoured by the TV show Penny Dreadful, but also harks back to classic British horror fiction and the works of Arthur Conan Doyle. In terms of aims, today we will meet our characters and we'll begin to explore the place they share. They all live at a place called Hargrave House, which has been occupied by similar hunters for a long time. We don't know how long, but a long time. Because the building has a certain Gothic air that predates much of Georgian and Victorian development in London. So they are the hunters. They will investigate mysterious and horrific events while battling their own demons and perhaps getting hints of the evil hand of a criminal mastermind at work behind the scenes. An important part of this game, and I'll stress this to the players before I ask them to introduce themselves, is that in the between, we are not meant to know about the past of these characters. That will be revealed in play. We are instead supposed to learn about what has made them the people that they are being revealed to be in play. The other thing I want to say is that this game, like most of my online games, has been organized as part of the Gauntlet RPG community's online calendar. If you don't know about the Gauntlet, please search Gauntlet-RPG and come and play games with us. We like to think we have a great table culture and we'd love to share it with you. If you want to back the Patreon, all the better, because that would give you priority access to the games we have in the calendar. And there are about 100, mostly at the indie end of the spectrum, every month. One of the things we like to pride ourselves is, as I say, that table culture. So we will be playing with a certain range of safety tools today to make sure that we're all having a good time at the table. Because the tone of this game is dark and supernatural and significant content warnings. This is the time of Jack the Ripper. This is the time of people digging up bodies for various experimentations. This is the time of Frankenstein and Mary Shelley's Dracula. This is a world in which blood is easily spilled and life is very cheap in the metropolis. And so given that potential subject matter, we are going to be using the code of conduct. The code of conduct, I summarize it sometimes as don't be a dick. And all of these players are experienced members of the Gauntlet, so we won't have that problem. But just to be on the safe side, we are supplementing that with some specific lines and veils. So lines are things that will not be appearing in the fiction. And as of now, we have lines on bullying, on disease, on homophobia and transphobia. Pandemic and plague is lined, racism is lined, sexual assault, sexual violence is lined, slavery is lined. We're also going to use veils. Veils are things that may come up in the fiction, but if they do, we will draw a discrete veil rather than having all of that action appear on screen. And we are currently veiling harm to children, harm to pets and domestic animals, mind control, sexism, sexual content, suicide and torture. There are some things that some players have said, I'm probably okay with it, but I'd like to know first. I'd like to have an option to say yes, no. So ask first. Eye injuries, graphic injuries and gore, ask first. I'm going to treat mind control as a veil rather than ask first. I'm going to take the more significant safety tool if there's a choice. And likewise suicide. Somebody said ask first about suicide. I'm just going to veil suicide. Or is that ask first to have it in the game at all? Is that ask first to line it? Because I would rather line it now than have us slip into it. It's easy to ask first if you want it on screen. It's trickier to know whether that is, I just don't want to go there at all. So if you're in any doubt and you put ask first down, consider please whether that should be a line, because I'd rather operate on the safe side of those choices. In terms of specific interest, there is interest in body horror. There's interest in classism, because we want to see the kind of the inequality of Victorian London play out, I think, on screen. So those are our current safety tools. There is a tab at the top there that talks about romance with PCs and NPCs. They're at row 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It would be helpful if you could complete that, please. So that's what we're playing with. We're also playing with the open door, which means not only that if something happens in the real world and someone has to step away, that's fine. Life goes on. But also, if this turns out not to be the game that one of the players or any of the players signed up for, including me, and you do not feel obliged to chain yourself to this screen for what is now 2.5 hours. If you're not enjoying it, the objective is to have fun together, and no one has fun when they're sitting there thinking, I'd rather be watching telly, because there is apparently a significant football match on tonight. It seems to be. So there's a run through our safety tools. I didn't say at the start, I should say now that my pronouns are he, him. Let me now then go to the players. I'll go in character keeper order from left to right, because I lack imagination. So Blake, say hello, tell us about your pronouns, and introduce us to Razor Rose Roberts.
G'day, I'm Blake, he, him. Tonight I'm playing the American Razor Rose Roberts. Yeah, her inner demons are a bit literal, and we'll see how that develops as time goes on.
Because it's fair to say, we won't be letting the cat out of the bag to say that there is a dark and feral side to Rose.
Yes, quite literally.
Does she go by Razor or Rose with the other hunters? I'm curious.
Probably Rose.
Okay. Normally now I'd be asking questions about their background, but we're not going to do that in the between. We're going to learn those things in play. And you've gone for the awakened soul. You are sensitive to the desires and behaviors of animals. Okay, so need to put some animals in. I will come back to your personal quarters in a moment, please. I suppose I am curious. You are the American. You are the person out of their depth in a funny way, or in a different depth, a different kind of pool you're used to. How long have you been in London, do you think?
I don't know, maybe a month.
Okay, so really recent.
Yeah, okay. Otherwise there's too many incidents that people can find me by.
Okay, enough said. Let's move along. Leandro, say hello, tell us about your pronouns, and introduce us to Chambers, the Factotum.
Yeah, so hello, my name's Leandro, you see him pronouns. I'm playing the aforementioned Factotum, who, for those who don't know, it's the playbook who is a personal servant to one of the main characters, to one of the other player characters specifically. They may have had a life before entering service or employer, but that doesn't matter. They serve this person now in Hargrave House. That's kind of characterized by being kind of like the most down to earth. Most of the other playbooks have either extreme privilege or extreme supernatural nonsense going on in their lives. The Factotum is not that. They are just here to serve their employer, and that's what Chambers, uses she, her pronouns, does. They chosen for their look, dark maroon boots, black dress with magpie detail, and a red scarf. It's a scarf. And yes, we don't know much about them. They don't even get a first name. That's how low on the totem pole they are, which is fab. But they do have a move, besides the employer one, which I will find out who that is soon. But She also has just a small network of spies, the Hargrave House Informals. Yeah, it needs a bit of skimming from the house accounts, but these hunters don't have the time to get into the minutia of that. I'll take care of that. So I know folks in London, and hopefully if I ever need them, I can roll to get in touch with them. Hopefully I don't miss, because otherwise they'd be dead or otherwise worse.
And just mechanically, I'm very happy for you, because you're kind of rolling the dice literally, but also, you know, metaphorically, when you think, right, I'll activate one of my informals on the off chance I might need them. I'm very happy for us to use that as a flashback move. So if you think at any time one of them would be advantageous in a scene, I'm very content for you to flash back to see whether they're dead or not, which is crudely put what that move does, and then gives you some advantage if they do turn up. Because I think one of the things about the Factotum is that they are meant to be competent. They are meant to kind of not quite foresee the future literally, but to be prepared. And I think that's a good move for doing it, or that way of playing that move is a good way to do it. I do want to just check in, because I should have asked Razor this as well, but or Rose. Your Weiss is brandy chambers. Is this, you know, does everybody else know that you're a tippler, or I'm just curious.
I don't hide it from anyone.
So, you know, am I imagining a regularly refilled hip flask?
Recently lost at the moment, I think, because I didn't pick that as a look. So they may be a bit cranky about that, but you know, it's not proper decorum to bring up that, but you know, they're to look out for something like that, probably.
Okay. And I just need to go back to Razor Rose Roberts and say, your Weiss is raw meat, fresh or close to bloody, in private. I just want to check in there, because one of the moves in this game allows you to invite another hunter to engage in your Weiss for mechanical benefit.
Yeah, so far it's been in private. She decides to trust someone with that and join her for dinner.
Okay.
She just doesn't cook.
Fine. Right. Uncomfortably bloody beef, or who knows what. Okay. I like that. I'll come back
possibly
to
servant. Possibly what
Chambers.
were they? Chambers' friends. They might be tasty. That's why they keep dying.
That's an interesting way to go. Okay, let's move along to our vessel. Ollie, say hello, tell us about your pronouns, and introduce us to Annie Morrish.
Hi, I am Ollie. My pronouns are he or they. And I am playing Annie Morrish this evening, whose pronouns are she, her. She is the vessel, so she is a character who, since childhood, has always been of great interest to supernatural and dark entities. She is wearing raven feather cuffs, black velvet coat with blood red trim, tailored men's suit in burgundy black. So she looks kind of like a Victorian member of My Chemical Romance, played by Eva Green. She is able to use the interest in these dark entities to perform magic. So I have the moves Rites of Salt and Blood, which allow me to perform blood sacrifices in order to perform inhuman feats. I also have the move The Thinning of the Veil, which allows me to tell the future via horospicy, which is the reading of entrails to tie in with the blood sacrifice. And her vice is sex with dark entities.
And again, I'm interested to see at which point you invite another hunter to share your Weiss for mechanical benefit.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
Viewers, you have already got a flavor of where this game can go. I've got a good handle on those. Let me just check in on the way that you gain experience in this game is by once per cycle of play, and the cycle of play is quite rigorously divided, as we'll discover.
Alon, I think David might be waiting. Is there a waiting room thing?
Oh gosh.
Yeah, they posted in the rooms we were using.
I really thought he'd left. David? David, I'm so sorry. I thought that you'd gone to dinner. Let me put the whoops a daisy. David, can you hear us? I'm so sorry. I thought that you'd had to leave. And so
that's quite right. Relatively soon, but that's not a problem. Sorry, I had my connection here.
Well, look, we've just had a run around the other characters. Let me ask you if you can say hello, tell us about your pronouns, and introduce us to the mother, Victor Weiss, if I'm pronouncing that right.
Yes, indeed you are. Yeah, hi, my name is David. I use he/him pronouns. I'm currently sitting from a hotel room, hence the spotty connection. But yeah, I will be playing Victor Weiss, who is a medical doctor in London. Medical doctor, also dabbles in alienism as a kind of hobby as much as anything else. Victor also uses he/him pronouns. He is kind of, I picture him as being kind of tall, gaunt, wears a long navy sort of peacoat type thing most of the time when he's out and about in the town. Obviously lab coat when he's in the lab, but always sort of a long sort of concealing coat. He has very sort of piercing blue eyes. He wears sort of little frameless glasses with tortoiseshell arms on them. Has sort of neatly cropped blonde hair. No, not blonde. I think it is dark. I think it is dark hair, but yeah, neatly cropped. He maintains a small infirmary in Hargrave House, as well as a slightly more secretive lab where he works on his side project, shall we say. He is, in particular, his sort of vices and indulgence is in cigarettes. He is a chain smoker. Is frequently seen smoking about his job. Yeah, and I think that's an initial introduction to him.
You know, long ago in a galaxy far, far away, when I used to work with preserved materials, my lab guide constantly had a fag in the corner of his mouth because it helped kill the smell of the formaldehyde. So I'm seeing that.
Indeed.
I'm seeing that. Now, yes. So this well-equipped infirmary inside Hargrave House. So you need to add medical texts to your personal quarters, and that is always available to you.
Indeed.
Normally, items in personal quarters get used once; they remain fictionally true, but they lose their mechanical advantage after one use. When the vulnerable move is triggered in the infirmary, each hunter can clear one additional physical condition. But there is a paint the scene here. What do we see that is evidence of how meticulously clean and organized this space is? Because I'm imagining early on we're just having a kind of tour around the public bits of Hargrave House, and we'll just get a glance into your infirmary.
Yeah, that we see that kind of shows this is I'm not going to get too in depth into the history of it, but certainly it's a relatively new innovation, shall we say, for this sort of space. Covered in white tiling, floors are white tile, the walls are at least most of the way up are covered in white tile as well. There probably is some guttering and a drain center of the floor of this room. It's got that very stark, very surgical look to it.
That's lovely. Thank you for that. Now, shall we settle now, just then, as everyone is here at this point, who exactly Chambers works for?
Yeah.
So, over to you, Chambers. What's your pitch your talents?
So Chambers may have a brandy vice, but they know people around town, so that's useful. Honestly, like I can't take credit for this. It was Ollie who like pitched this. Like, yeah, what if Chambers did work for the mother? And I was like, ooh, does that mean I get to play like kind of like the Igor, or I guess like the way I kind of pitch is like who would be interested in having a personal servant, with a contentious relationship. Probably contentious relationship. I don't know. Maybe we get along. I'm not sure. I think like of all of the choices I did, I was kind of drawn to Victor Weiss. But that's up to yourself, David, if you're interested in that.
Well, let's put it on the table for David then. Does Victor want the factotum?
Yeah, no. No, I think that could be. I think that could be cool. If that's good with everyone else. I see. I can definitely see maybe having. I know we'll get into the full details of the relationship later. I can definitely see employing Chambers as, we'll call it a nurse. That's probably the best term to use for the time being. And we'll possibly explore to the extent to which Chambers is involved in Dr. Weiss's other work in play.
Okay, now you're on the clock, David. So I'm going to suggest that we start with personal quarters for you, and then we'll run around the others. David, do you want to suggest an item that would be found in Razor Rose Roberts' personal quarters?
Sure. Let's have a quick glance at the. Yeah, I think that Razor Rose Roberts has in her quarters at Hargrave House. I'm gonna say like a stuffed alligator head, like big full size sort of bull alligator head that's just above her bed, possibly acting almost like a mini shade over it.
Okay. I'm going to ask you about for all the others, David, just because you may have to go at short notice. So, do you want to suggest what we see in Chambers the Factotum's personal quarters?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that what we will see in Chambers' quarters, and I think this this may tie into the sort of the work that is done. There is a big a black Gladstone bag with somewhat antiquated surgical tools in it. Not like the very cutting edge, pardon the pun, of the art, but the serviceable tools.
Okay. What do you think you would like to have us find in Annie Morrish's The Vessel's personal quarters?
Yeah, I think that we see I think that there is one of those, trying to think of the word for it. A planchette, that's one. The device you use on the older Ouija board. That's I think it's made out of. I think it's kind of covered in mother of pearl. It's quite a fancy one. It's clearly not just like something that's been bought as a novelty. This is clearly has some weight to it.
Okay, and then let's run round then now in a more logical order, I suppose. Going back to Razor. Razor, tell me something that we find in Chambers the Factotum's personal quarters.
I like the idea of stuff above the bed. So you know how when you look behind a bar, there's like a shelf with 12 types of things. Yeah, so it's like 12 types of brandy. There's like a shelf above the bed, 12 types of brandy of various quality.
So a range of different brandies. Fine.
Maybe a cognac or two, but yeah, basically brandy.
And let's go round then to Chambers and ask you what we see in Victor Weiss's personal quarters.
I think what would the science have? Medical scientists would have. I think we have probably always like a nice jar of pickled indistinct organ of some sort. It probably has like it's probably like a gift. There's like a note on it from some board or university.
Well, let's what I've written down here, because David, I don't know if you're kind of still with us in the sense of able to do anything. I've written pickled organs with a note on them. Treated as an aid memoir for now. We can refine that when you're kind of back properly. And then
that's brilliant. Cheers.
Then let me ask Annie Morrish. Tell me something that we find in Razor Rose Roberts' personal quarters.
I think we find a. What do we find? We find a pair of boots that are far too big for her, and that have a bite taken out of them. They're in no state to be worn, and yet she keeps them anyway.
Okay, Razor, can you make something of that? Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Let's go back the other way then, and stick with Annie Morrish. What about the Factotum, Chambers?
I think Chambers has a hand of glory, which is the severed hand of a hanged man, covered in wax and used as a candle, and it can knock people out when you use it. And I think one of the fingers is already burnt down.
Hand of God. Okay, I'm going to lose track of who's put something where shortly. Let me go to Razor and ask about something found in Victor Weiss's quarters. Dr. Weiss.
Just check. Cool. Paradise Lost.
Okay, a copy of
Right.
Paradise Lost.
Whether, you know, whether they find it insightful or humorous or ludicrous or whatever, I don't know. But for
Who
some
knows?
reason, I've got a copy of that.
Copy of Paradise Lost. Okay. What razor do we see in Annie Morrish's personal quarters?
Okay, it's a lead chalice, like nearly big enough to stick your head in. It's a big old lead chalice, Etruscan design. So, you know, 700 BC. This big ass thing. You could, yeah, kill someone easily if it fell on them.
And otherwise stores a lot of entrails. Okay. So let me think. I think that razor. I think Chambers, you need to tell me something that's found in Razor Rose Roberts' personal quarters. I think you're the remaining one to do that.
Yeah. Ooh. Why not a necklace made of fangs? Why not? Well, you can do a lot of things with with a fang necklace.
Yeah, necklace of fangs.
Can
Are
I
they real fangs or are they like tacky?
They're all different sizes, and only, well, that's up to you, I guess. But I think they're all cleared from different animals.
And I think that Annie Morrish needs to tell me something in Victor Weiss's personal quarters.
Yeah, he has a phrenology head, but all of the notes on it are in an indecipherable language, and they are they note different parts of the outlines of different parts of the head than would normally be on a phrenology.
Okay, so if I call this a novel phrenology head with notes in an unknown language?
Yes. Can I also change my one for Rose, unless you particularly like the boots, Blake?
Yeah, go for it. What's up?
So I was thinking maybe a double-ended blade, which is coated in tarnished silver on one end and cold iron on the other, which is wrapped in a cloth and stored at the bottom of your effects.
So I just so I'm clear here, I need to visualize this. Is this a two-handed thing, or
no, just like a knife,
but with a blade coming out both sides? Okay,
yes,
with you. Okay, so a two-bladed knife.
yes, coated in different materials.
Fine, and we can worry about the nature of the materials depending on the things that we might encounter. Fine. So this leaves me to come up with something. I will not have an American in this game who does not have a Colt 45. So I insist that Razor Rose Roberts has a Colt 45. In terms of Chambers, the Factotum, I think I would like Chambers of Factotum to have a collection of letters bound with a red ribbon. No, I tell you what, a blue ribbon. Sorry, Blake, what was that?
Can I haggle the Colt 45 for a lever action rifle?
The only reason I haven't gone with a rifle is that you are likely to attract a great deal of the Bobby's attention if you carry a rifle around.
Oh, yeah, fair call.
Yeah, whereas a Colt 45 will slip under a decent overcoat with no trouble at all. Now you may be looking for that trouble, in which case go ahead, have a rifle. In terms of Victor, I think I want Victor to have, we've got a book, a phrenology head, and pickled organs with a note on them. I think I want Victor to have something that is entirely not medical. I think I want Victor to have a bouquet of dried flowers of various kinds. I can't spell bouquet though, it appears. There we go. Let's try that. Okay. Now, Annie, I seem to have left you one short. Who hasn't offered you? We've got an Etruscan chalice that came from Rose. We've got the whalebone planchette covered in mother of pearl, which came from Victor. Does that mean that Chambers has yet to offer? Sorry.
I think Annie has this pair of old opera glasses, but the lenses have been exchanged for lenses made of black quartz. Who knows what that could reveal to a vessel?
Well, then one of you type that in while I give a little thought. What do I want Annie Morrish to have? I'll let you type that in, Ollie, before I set you to type something else. Okay. I think I'd like you to have an opaque jar in a velvet bag. Okay. And I think I've overrun badly, so I'm going to suggest we take a decent break at this point. It is 8 minutes past the hour. Can we be back? Is quarter past the hour long enough? Yeah? Okay, quarter past the hour. I'll see you then. Okay, we're back from our break, and our mother has left us for another engagement, but we'll be back next time now that we know the nature of the character. I do want to just check in on your Dawn questions. 3 of them are the same for everyone, but then there is a choice. So Razor, did you encourage a fellow hunter to let loose for a change? So we're looking for opportunities for you to encourage people to behave out of character and in a slightly wild manner, perhaps. And did you use violence to solve a problem? So I will endeavor to put something in your way in this cycle. The Factotum Chambers, did you have a scene showing your secret private life in London? I will be very happy to link that perhaps to the informals, pays your money, takes your choice. Did you engage in a petty reprisal of someone who angered your employer? Now, your employer is not in the game tonight, but if you want to invent an occasion when someone was rude or otherwise angered your employer, I'm very happy to assume that went on. And finally, Annie, did you come to have face-to-face encounter with a dark entity? Well, some of that may sit with you in terms of your some of your moves. Did you perform a ritual? Fair enough. I'll hope to create the opportunity for you to do that. So the only other thing I think we need to do, just to be on the safe side, is just to make sure that everyone can see the dice room. I've put it in the Zoom chat if you haven't seen it in the info. I don't know if you're all familiar with Roll With Me. There's a little coloured square in the top right-hand corner-ish. That allows you to select the color for your dice. You could need 3 dice, 3 6-sided dice for this. So, select them now or in your own time. This game is divided into very distinct phases. We begin in the day phase. And in the day phase, I will present a new threat if there are less than 3 active. And then we will play to find out. So I am going to present the first threat. Which of you is more likely to be reading the Illustrated Police News, a scandalous tabloid?
I probably would, just in case, you know, they're onto me, etc.
Okay. And in fact, maybe you don't realize it's a scurrilous rag. And perhaps, Rose, it is forming your impression of London a month in. So, a back issue of the Illustrated Police News, a tabloid notorious for carrying salacious, blood-curdling tales of dubious provenance, has a story about a young maid, Ginny Hess, who was found dead, apparently from shock, in her employer's St. James Street townhouse some months ago. The story claims the townhouse is haunted, and it was almost certainly the appearance of a ghost that caused the young maid to die of fright. After a cursory inquiry, you can discover the precise address of the haunting, 18 St. James Street, and the name of the family that lives there, the Beals. Now, I'm going to place this in the morning room of Hargrave House, where I'm imagining Rose is sitting in one of those large leather wingback reading chairs with a pile of old issues of the Illustrated Police News, and she's working her way through, learning as much as she can about London. And Annie, what are you doing as Rose is working her way through these back issues? Oh, you are muted.
I think I am watching her with via amusement while sipping on a cup of tea before I let her get quite a few pages through it before I say, you know that thing's full of tripe, yes? Tripe, cow's stomach, used as a foodstuff. I don't know if they have that in the colonies.
I mean, sort of, well, now it looks pretty detailed. Are you sure? This lady seems to be in, well, this person was in a bit of a pickle and they seem to have died. Something weird's happened here. Surely it can't all be made up.
Well, I mean, it's easy to get the details in when you make them all up. I mean, you can invent as many details as you can. Let me have a look at this.
Chambers, what are you thinking of this conversation as you pour some more tea for Annie Morrish? Annie, is it Miss, Mrs? What's your choice of title, or is it always Chambers? Can't call you Annie, can she?
I would prefer that she didn't address me at all. Do not perceive me. No, but it's I think Sister Morrish. Let's go with Sister Morrish.
Sister Morrish. So, what, Chambers? What are you making of this conversation? What's your view of the Illustrated Police News?
I think if it's possible to have a second Vice, it would be trashy tabloid stories, but she's not going to speak up for it right now because she works for these people. So it is just kind of like I think like the very passive aggressive way Chambers can express it is pouring Miss Sister Morrish's tea very, very slowly.
And when Rose hands across to Annie this copy of the Illustrated Police News, which always has garish drawings on the front, but it's turned to the article. Annie, you're quite right. Most tales of hauntings are complete nonsense, especially those that you would find in the Illustrated Police News. But you have some experience with these darker entities, these liminal entities. And there is a detail in the story that confirms to you that this might be a legitimate haunting. What's that detail?
It is that a servant, one of the other servants from below, heard the sound of what sounded like two sets of footsteps, one barefoot and one shod with sort of like metal heels. And it puts me in mind of something that I've heard before.
Well, on the basis then that this may be more than just a story, I'm inclined to cut to 18 St James Street, where Hargrave House needs to investigate, unless anyone has a particular desire for a scene at Hargrave House before that.
I just wanted to clarify something Annie said. Is it something she's heard of or something she's actually heard herself? Because there's an important difference.
That is something that I've heard myself. People often mistake it for a shod foot when it is in fact a hooved foot.
Ooh.
And the scratching of what was described as the scratching of the metal heel against the floor.
Does that satisfy Rose? Yeah, it frightens me, but I'm glad it satisfies it, Rose.
And I think before handing the paper back, I do say, well, if you sift through enough shit, you do find the odd pearl and throw it back at you.
So Chambers, I'm guessing that while Sister Morrish and Miss Rose are in the Hargrave House carriage, are you driving the carriage, or is there a driver servant that you sit alongside on these jaunts? Or do you go by cab?
I think there's circumstances where Lord Chambers would go by cab, by herself, probably mysterious beings talking to people, whatnot. But I think for this, like, so far it seems like a fairly straightforward kind of mystery. So I think she'll drive the cab. Sure, why not? That's...
Okay. So I'm seeing a four-wheeler. A four-wheel carriage with Rose and Annie inside. Chambers is driving. An unusual sight, I think, to see a female driving a carriage. So there will be some rubbernecking as you make your way through the crowded, horse-drawn streets of London. To St James Street. St James Street is a terrace. It is an up-and-coming area. It is somewhere where people who have aspirations would want to live. So Chambers, bringing the carriage, the four-wheeler, to a halt outside number 18, what would your normal approach be to gaining entry to someone else's house, Chambers? I'm curious.
I go around through the servants' door and let everyone else. If they, I guess it kind of like depends on what the sorry, I've been paying a lot of good sight lately, so my mind just goes the upstairs folk do if they want to do anything. But I think Chambers is their first beeline is always to where the servants' door is to see where the downstairs staff are.
I think probably that there is a railing just off the street with some steps down to the basement where tradesmen would arrive. Do you aim to get down there at the same time as Sister Morrish and Miss Rose reach the front door, or would you see them to the front door first?
I think if Dr. Weiss was there, Chambers would be there, but I think since he's not around, without even saying anything to Sister Morrish or to Rose, she would just immediately, just like as soon as she's parked the carriage, she'll open the carriage, let the two of them out, and then kind of like just give them a silent salute and walk to and find the servants.
Fine. Let me cut then. Annie, would you seek to be first to the door? Or would you let Rose be first to the door, or is there something else you would do first?
I think I would intend to be first to the door.
Okay.
If that's cool with you, Blake.
Yep. It's all good.
And so there's a large bell pull, and you hear the kind of ding 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 as you pull the bell inside, and then there's a delay. Chambers, you've gone down the stairs perhaps you have pressed a coin on an urchin to make sure that the horses are just stay where they are supposed to be. And knock on the door, no reply at this point. Upstairs, there is a delay, Annie, before the door opens, and a rather, you could not describe her other than as a rather dumpy woman, and she looks harassed. She is clearly not a maid, but she is very obviously a servant. And she looks at, I'm trying to get a sense of Annie. I tend to think that Annie is quite a tall, elegant woman.
Yeah, I think she's like tall enough to comment on, like 5'10", probably.
Fine, because she is played, with the risk of typecasting by Eva Green.
Yes.
And so there is that elegance about you, and the woman who answers the door looks up at you. Clearly, this is not Mrs. Beale. And she says, "Oh God, what can I do for you?"
Hello, sweetheart. We are here from the St. Swithin's Church Benevolent Foundation, and we were wishing to speak to Mr. and Mrs. Beale about the possibility of a donation.
And at that point, I think you'll hear this kind of bang, bang, bang from downstairs. And she kind of glances past you as if to see who's at the servants' entrance, and says, "Oh, you better come in." And she opens the door and ushers you in. In you come, in you come.
Absolutely.
Clearly,
You
she
can
is
take
not
care of
used to
that.
this. She's not public-facing servant.
You seem rushed off your feet, sweetheart. Where's the usual maid?
Oh, I am, madam. I'm rushed off my feet. We cannot employ. I'm having to do the jobs of several people, but I must now go for this. Please, I will summon Mrs. Beale. Mrs. Beale. And she, at that, she leaves it. The door is open. You are in the hall. She clearly doesn't know how to greet visitors in a formal manner.
Okay,
and
cool.
she disappears to the end of the hall and around a corner, and you can hear her kind of galloping downstairs into the basement. You're in the hall. There is, Rose, you're a colonial with no manners. What do you do?
Jeez. I'm just looking around and see if there's anything odd like frost marks or burn marks or recent new construction sort of thing.
Okay, well, I think then let us engage with the rules just to get the ball rolling. It seems to me that you are using the information move.
Mm-hmm.
Because if this was a busier location, I might require you to undertake the day move just to see if it turned embarrassing. But I think I've set it up so that it's not going to be, you're not going to be caught leafing through anything. So when you search for a clue, conduct research, or otherwise gather information, describe how you're doing so and roll with the appropriate ability. So what exactly do we see? Are you just looking around?
Yeah, having a look around. I'm also having a good long sniff. Just
Okay. This seems to me to be reason, I think. Yeah. So by all means, roll 2d6 plus reason, Rose. What's that turn into?
7.
Ooh, close run thing. On 7 to 9, there's a complication either with the clue itself or
Sorry, 6.
Aha. Excuse me, says a rather polite voice from the landing above. What are you doing? As she sees Rose looking at a vase of flowers, which in your surprise, Rose, you knock over. And there is a clatter and a crash. And when you look down around your boots, you can see pooling blood.
So, howdy, stranger. Sorry about this. We heard.
So you're ignoring the blood.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't want to focus on it. That's not a good idea. I'd say, howdy, stranger. We heard you had a bit of trouble recently. We might be able to help.
Before I do anything else, add a clue. Now, just let me introduce you to the threat tab. You'll see that I've added the St. James's Street ghost as a threat. The first question you have to answer is which part of the house is the ghost attached to? We'll worry about how you do that shortly. But if you would like to add to the clues, a vase filled with warm, fresh blood.
That's creepy.
Annie.
Can I? Yes.
What do you do?
I step in front of both the blood and Rose and hold up my hand very politely. Mrs. Beale, hello, how do you do? We are here from the employment agency. I believe that you notified us you were in need of a new maid.
And she kind of looks at you, and I'm just reminding myself how Rose is dressed. A bolo tie with turquoise inlay, crocodile boots with lavish detail. But I must say that Annie is much more looks like a servant. I must say, in all that black and dark colours. And she looks down at you to say, "Oh, I see. I they didn't tell me I should expect anyone." And she's looking at Rose and looking at you.
Oh no, I'm not here to serve. Heaven forfend. No, I'm merely inquiring on behalf of my agency, the sort of help that you might require around the house. I believe your previous servant left in something of a furore, and you've been having a little trouble trying to find a replacement.
And I think as she will come down the stairs, Rose, I'm still curious what you're going to do about the vase and the blood.
Yeah, is it shattered or is it just
Shattered?
fallen to the floor?
Shattered. Do you
Um,
just try to pretend it's not there?
is there some sort of like tablecloth or something I can just try to mop it up with? And
It smashed on the floor, and there is a carpet in the hall. And before she drew your attention, you could see it just seeping into the carpet, into the weave of the carpet.
yeah, I'll try and sort of sweep it towards the side of the hallway. But as I'm doing that, I'm having a good sniff.
The weird thing is, Rose, as you try to do that, you look down again, and they are red carnations.
What the hell?
Annie, I think that given that your companion just smashed a vase of flowers, I think I need the day move from you.
I think that sounds entirely fair.
Convince Mrs. Beale that you are what you say you are. I think this is presence. This is around your charisma and your charm. So the day move, when you do something risky or face something you fear, name what you're afraid will happen if you fail or lose your nerve.
Okay, I am afraid that she will see us, tell that I'm lying, and turf me out, or possibly even call the police.
Fine. So let's have you roll with presence.
That was an 8.
Okay, so on a 7 to 9, the keeper will tell you how your actions would leave you vulnerable, and you can choose to back down or go through with it. I think the risk for you here is that were she to check in on the employment agencies that she and her husband have contacted, she will find that you are, without accreditation of any kind. So I guess there is a clock ticking, at which point this lie is going to come back and bite you. Does that seem fair?
That is absolutely fine. I am fully going to go through with it.
Okay.
And I look forward to getting found out.
Okay. And so she comes downstairs, and again, looking at Rose, who is dressed eccentrically, to say the least, ushers you in to the sitting room. Let's cut to the downstairs servants. And as she ushers you into the sitting room, she yells downstairs, Mrs. Thicket, a dustpan and brush to the hall, please. Chambers, that echoes down the inside of the house, because you are at the servants' door where Mrs. Thicket, the same woman who answered the upstairs door, has just opened it. And there's a strong smell of boiling cabbage that just washes out of this basement. And she says, oh, bloody hell, you better come in. And she closes the door behind you. And where's that bloody dustpan and brush? Run off my feet. Who the bloody hell are you?
I think sorry, but Chambers is prepared. I wasn't. I think like Chambers like walks in kind of like almost authoritative, as if like, yeah, I'm here. But then immediately, like, as Mrs. Thicket asked this, she's like, oh, pardon.
Are you looking for
there,
employment? Are you looking for a place?
Yes, Mum.
And she pushes a dustpan and brush at you and says, come on then, let's put you through your paces.
Chambers will just like, yeah, take it, and will try to look cringing and like cowed.
And we'll march you upstairs and say, go on then, let's see you do your stuff. And there's a smashed vase of red carnations. What do you do, Chambers? She's there, she's watching you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, Chambers, like obviously we haven't come up with backstory, but you know, she's worked her way up like this. Dustpan and vase and carnations, huh? Okay, so obviously the player knows something's up, but Chambers doesn't. So she will just kind of like clean up, try to like look invisible. I'm sure Sister Morrish and Rose will kind of figure out this is just part of the thing. It's just the usual game plan. But yeah, I think Chambers will just kind of like clean up as quickly as possible.
What's your intention here? What are you hoping is going to come out of this interaction with Mrs. Thicket, the cook?
To like just seamlessly fold into the staff to the point where like perhaps Mrs. Thicket will give me more stuff where I can go off to explore the house.
So literally, you want her to employ you?
Yeah. Yeah. Although I think you said it sounded like you had something.
Oh no, I just wanted to say, can I indicate to Chambers that when you're brushing up the stuff that we want to keep it in some way? So if I indicate for you to kind of like, if I like eye a bag that I brought with me or something, for you to brush it into there, because I want to examine that later.
Yeah. That's probably going to be a move of some sort to at least drop a rose into.
I think that probably is the day move, because we are in the day phase. So when you do something risky, what could go wrong here? You want her to employ you or to think you are employable.
Yes, and the way to not make that happen is to like just start brushing things into strangers' bags. But I still need to do it.
Okay, well, let's have you roll with. I mean, is this vitality or composure? Because I mean, I'm just trying to remember the distinction. Vitality, strength, dexterity, endurance, and athleticism, or raw physicality. Composure is under pressure. I think it's composure.
Not just because I have one +1 there. Gosh, all right. It's been a while since I played a PBTA game. If I remember correctly, I have bad luck in them. So this can only go well. Oh my God, that's boxcars.
Well, on a 12 plus, you do what you intended and you hold steady. The keeper will tell you some extra benefit or advantage you receive. Describe what that looks like. she is going to think that you are the maid that she has been praying for. How do we know that when the audience sees this scene going on, sees you, sees Mrs. Thicket?
She gives me a compliment, which I think is maybe unprecedented also to Mrs. Beale. So like, yeah, I think I go about it so like rapidly and like quickly and efficiently that one, they don't notice that I drop a few roses in Sister Morrish's bag, or carnations. Sorry, those aren't roses; they're not the same. But two, like, yeah, I'm like done in minutes, and I kind of like just present myself to Mrs. Thick and be like, is there anything else, ma'am?
And I think that what is going to happen is that she is now going to put you through your paces, but she wants to employ you. Mrs. Thicket wants to employ you. I think what we'll do is we'll cut back to Annie and Rose and their conversation with Mrs. Beale. And at the end of that conversation, Mrs. Thicket will introduce someone she believes she's found to fill the vacant position. Yeah? She takes you into the sitting room, which looks out over the street. And she flicks the net curtain as if to wonder why there is that rather impressive carriage parked outside. But then she has bigger fish to fry in the sense of these two people. So she turns to Annie and she says, well, how do you think you can help me?
Well, we have an extremely high quality roster of maids looking for employment. But I understand that you've been without a maid for quite some time. Why is that? Please, no secrets here. We're just, woman to woman. Is it your husband, sweetheart?
Absolutely not. Harold is a perfect gentleman. I would not want any such rumors to be circulating. It was a very sad circumstance in which our previous maid had an unfortunate seizure and died on the premises.
I see. Oh my God, how terrible! That's awful. I mean, I can see why some of the superstitious lot would not want to stay here afterwards. You get all tales of hauntings when someone dies in mysterious circumstances, don't you?
What have you heard?
Nothing, madam. What should I have heard?
Why do you raise questions of the supernatural?
Oh, I just meant that the lower classes will sometimes be more prone to superstition, and that could be why you've had trouble securing a
It was a simple seizure. You should believe nothing you have read in the newspapers.
A simple seizure, absolutely.
Rose, what are you doing while Mrs. Beale is very engaged with Annie?
I think I'm just sort of looking around the room, and occasionally I'll sort of nod as if I'm paying attention to the conversation, but I'm more interested in, looking around the room.
This sounds like the information move again, while Annie is distracting Mrs. Beale. But I will come back to Annie in a moment to see whether she can glean anything in terms of information from this conversation. So let's go to Rose first. I think it's the same. I think this is reason again, unless you have a case for something else.
I suppose like a try sensitivity, just try and get a vibe from wandering around.
Now, let me be clear. I will forget what your individual playbook moves are. If you think one of those is more appropriate to use in any circumstance than the core moves, the basic moves I'm going to, please just tell me.
Well, unless there's an animal in the room, no.
Okay. I think this is a day move. What do you think could go wrong trying to just, sense this place?
Well, in a paranoid sense, I guess I could attract any supernatural entity or whatever.
Indeed, you could. So let's have you roll with sensitivity.
Fantastic. 3.
Wow. I think I will give you another clue, because certainly the atmosphere here changes. You can feel I like someone or something is choking you, Rose. Would you take the condition? You have 3 conditions. Those are relieved in your kind of downtime move equivalent. Would you give yourself the condition bruised throat? As Now, Annie, I was going to ask you to what extent you were milking Mrs. Beale for information, but suddenly Rose is.
Yeah. So does it look to me as if she's just being strangled by nothing?
It does, because you know what, Rose. I'm guessing you're kind of pulling at that bolo tie, just trying. But there's, but I think, Harry, for nothing, I will tell you that you can see some bruises forming on her throat.
Yeah. I am going to say to Mrs. Beale, it seems that seizures are catching. And I'm going to take from inside my dark velvet coat my pair of opera glasses with the black quartz lenses. And I'm going to look through them to see if I can see what is causing this, which is what my black opera glasses are for.
Fine. So is this rites of salt and smoke, a thinning of the veil, or is this just information move?
No, this would just be the information move, because I
Fine.
don't have something small and cuddly to kill first.
Indeed not. So let us have you roll with advantage the
Okay.
information move using sensitivity. It seems to me is the logical connection.
Yep.
Yes.
Sounds good.
Mark the opera glasses, because that's their one mechanical benefit. Take the top 2. That's a 9.
And that's a 10 in total.
Okay, so on a 10, you do what you're intended, or you hold steady. Describe what that looks like. I didn't ask you what could go wrong. I guess that the whatever it is could have turned its attention to you, but it's by the by
Yes.
now.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's the day move. I'm all over the shop.
Yes. So this is investigate.
It is. You find a clue. The keeper will tell you what it is. Which clue can I offer you? Oh, by the way, Rose, can you add a tightening felt around someone's throat to the clues, please? I think I will give you. A sudden insight. You see a young woman in servant's clothes pulling at her throat.
Mm-hmm.
And the clue is evidence of a similar death in the house previously.
Okay, cool.
I think what you're seeing is Ginny Hess dying.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay, so it's as if the... Right, okay. Do I see who is strangling Rose?
No, it's odd. What you see is it's as though Ginny has been superimposed over Rose.
Okay, cool.
Rather than revealing who's doing the strangling. But you can have the clue. Ginny Hess was strangled.
Okay. And I am going to reach forward and stroke Ginny's cheek and try and get her attention.
Okay, and Ginny is looking terrified at you. And of course, to Mrs. Beale, it looks like you're stroking Rose's cheek.
Yes.
And Mrs. Beale saying, what on earth are you doing? What on earth are you doing? At which point we cut down to the basement kitchen where Chambers is being put. How is Mrs. Thicket testing you now, Chambers?
Probably sorting out the kitchen pantry specifically. I think maybe that was like, I know this is mixing up like roles, but as Ms. Thicket said, they're highly understaffed. So I think
recipes, like cooking recipes.
Yeah, just like making sure. Yeah.
I just want to put on the table that you were quite interested in her showing you around the house a bit.
Oh yes,
he could test your bed making if you wanted to get elsewhere in the building.
That's true. Yes. Sorry. I just you said downstairs. I'm like, what happens downstairs? But yeah, I think that could be the case. We could be, yeah. I'm being, I'm showing off my bed making skills, which are impeccable.
Okay. So let me just ask you about. There are 4 bedrooms. Okay. On the upper floor. One for each of Harold and 2 children. And she'll take you past one room, which she says, we don't need to bother with that. It's the nursery. But she'll take you into the master bedroom, if you will, where Mr. and Mrs. Beale, and she pulls the bed linen off and says, go on then, let's see what you can do. And this is second nature to Chambers. You know, you did not get to be Dr. Weiss's factotum without being able to fulfill all the servantly duties. But I'm curious what else you want to get out of the scene.
Yeah, I think if it's a master bedroom, I think it's definitely going to be a case of looking for anything that's out of sort, like any paraphernalia here that could point to like something of a supernatural bent. Well, kind of stuff you'd find in Hargreave House.
I'm interested to have you left alone upstairs. So I think there'll be a shout from downstairs, Mrs. Thicket, water for my guests, because one of them is choking to death. And so Mrs. Thicket says, bloody hell, not again. And off she goes downstairs. It never bloody stops in this place, leaving you in the master bedroom. So what are you looking about? Are you moving furniture? What are you doing?
Oh, I'm absolutely opening cabinets and drawers, looking for any like personal effects. Nothing like, well, maybe something I could take, but probably more something I could like remember, commit to memory. Maybe
let me ask you then, as you're doing this, what about this room unnerves you?
Ooh, I think it's subtle, but it's there. This room is like a different temperature to the rest of the house. Like obviously like the kitchen full of the boiling cabbage, it is what it is. But like the room here is like drastically like different temperature. I think because it's summer outside, so it's kind of a bit warm during this day in London, but this room is like chiller, like just that bit more cold. And
it's got large windows, the sun is streaming through, and yet still there is a chill in the air here. Thank you. So let's have you roll the information move. I think let's have you kind of go through this room looking for anything of interest.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be with, let's see, yeah, reason.
I think so.
Ooh, that's a 4.
What are you doing? Says a young boy's voice.
I'm sorry. I'm new to the house, and I was the lady, Mrs. Thicket, gave me a challenge. She wanted to put me into paces. I think like Chambers is like trying to look pathetic, I guess. I haven't found anything. I'll go back to the bed making, sir.
There's a boy standing at the open door. I guess he's about 8, 9, 10. He's dressed in a sailor suit. His hair is quite long still. He's got plump, ruddy cheeks. And he raises an eyebrow at you and says in a very conspiratorial manner, "Are you looking for the ghost?" Let's cut back downstairs. Annie, you reached out to touch Ginny's cheek. Mrs. Beale is calling for water. What are you looking for here, Annie?
I am trying to separate Annie from Rose so that Annie's death is not repeated and Rose and I am trying to make Annie realise that she's already dead. So I'm going to whisper to her, sort of like pull close and just whisper in her ear, "It's okay. You can't do anything. It's already done."
In all the confusion, there's a bark at the sitting room threshold. And Mrs. Beale is saying, "Oh, Lord Pythagoras, not now." There is a greyhound, the Beale's pet, is in the room. Because I don't know how you're going to separate them without engaging with rites of salt and smoke, Annie. If that is your objective.
Yes. Okay.
Well, before that happens, I've got awakened soul. Can I kind of
Oh,
look in the dog's eyes and maybe the dog can kind of help me?
oh,
Like just-
I'd forgotten about awakened. So I knew there's a reason I wanted that dog in the room. You are sensitive to the desires and behaviors of animals. When you encounter an animal, you may ask the keeper, "What does this animal want me to do?" The keeper will answer truthfully and completely. When you act, okay, I think that the dog wants you. The dog looks at you, and we get that moment of contact. And I think on screen we zoom in on the dog's eyes as they are looking at you, and you know they are white ringed and red, bloodshot almost. And as we keep zooming into one of the eyes, we see a baby in a crib in a nursery, and the dog wants the baby saved. What do you do, Rose?
But I try and get control of my body again because I want to help this dog.
Let's have you roll with sensitivity before I risk forcing Annie to sacrifice the beast pet.
Oh, thank you. That's better. 11.
And it's almost as though there's a fleeting sense of a figure that you almost just see pits where the eyes might be in this gray shape as it kind of looks at you, looks at the dog, and is gone.
Maybe the dog growls slightly because I'm like, you know, help me help you. And now I'm like, no. And I'll say,
Annie, that
Yes.
image of Ginny superimposed on Rose
Mhm.
ends as Rose kind of and Mrs. Thicket arrives with a glass of water.
Excellent. I pocket the bit of the shattered vase that I was going to use to stab the dog if I had to, and walk past the dog and give it a little squatch on the head and say, "Good boy." And then I say to Mrs. Beale, "So can you show me to the maid's quarters where the servant would live?"
And I think at that point I'm going to call another break. Shall we say until 10 past the hour? Because I need to make another cup of tea. And I will see you then. So a distinct hint, I think, to Rose from the family dog that they are worried about a baby.
I'm going to say, you know, the dog's very protective. It's good when they're like that, particularly towards young children and infants.
And Mr. Beale says, yes, yes, he's devoted to Mary Alice. But I want to go to Chambers first. Chambers, you're at the threshold of the master bedroom is a young boy in a sailor suit. And he's saying, are you looking for the ghost? What's your response, Chambers?
Chambers' eyes widen theatrically. I heard some stories, sir. Are they true? Is there a ghost here?
I haven't seen the ghost myself much. but clearly it's a real terror. It did for our maid, Ginny, you know. Did for her. Stone dead.
I think Chambers gonna look around to see if anyone else around. Do you know where?
He
Where the
steps
ghost
across the
is?
threshold and closes the door behind him. I can hear people coming. Let's cut to the stairwell, where Annie, you wanted to see the servants' quarter, and Mrs. Beale is leading you and Rose, followed by the dog, Pythagoras, up to the attic floor, which is where the live-in maid, her room, Ginny's room, is there. But also the other room in the attic has been converted into a nursery. And she kind of just gestures it. Oh, that's my baby, who is grizzling and beginning to cry. But she's focused on showing you the servants' quarters at the back of the house.
I say, servants' quarters upstairs. That's unusual. You must hear all sorts of clippity clopping around upstairs when people are moving.
Oh, we have strict arrangements. The maid would be expected to be in bed before we retire, and would be expected to stay in bed. I want no moving about in my home.
So no one has ever heard anything, shoes shod or otherwise, up there.
And are you trying to? What's your objective here, Annie? Are you trying to get her to confirm what you read in the newspaper, or what?
Yeah, I think I am. Yeah.
Okay, then I think let's have you roll the information move with, I think, again, it's your charm that's work, isn't it? It's your presence that you're impressing her with.
That's what I'm trying to.
Go for it.
That is luckily for my presence being +1, that's an 8. +2 even, it's an 8.
Now I've not introduced this mechanic to you, but I think now's a good time to. Can you see on your character sheets that you have the mask of the past and the mask of the future?
Mm-hmm.
You can at any point mark the mask, one of those masks. They have to be done in terms of the future in order, and in terms of the past, they will be revealed as available to you. When you tick the first one, the second one will light up as a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
And that will improve any outcome by 1 step.
Okay.
So that would take a partial success to a full success,
Okay.
or a failure to a partial. Yeah. So I'm not prompting you to use it. It's just my reminder to remind you of the mechanic.
Cool.
But Annie, do you want to mark
But we
a
can do
mask?
that. We can do that after we're told what happens, can't we?
You can. So I think that on a mixed success, I will tell you there is a clue. The complication is going to be that she is going to begin. She is already slightly suspicious.
Yeah, I imagine so.
your cover as an employment agent is wearing thin. We knew the clock was ticking on it.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that there's been this fuss downstairs, I think she's about to rumble you. So after this, it is likely that she's not going to believe you, and I think you're going to be rolling at disadvantage from then on.
Okay, I will indeed roll the Janus mask to, or engage the Janus mask to not have that happen.
Okay, so do you want to mark the first mask of the past so we begin to see something of Annie's origins, or do you want to mark one of, free choice, mask of the future?
I am going to mark a mark of the past, as we are just going past the baby's room. And the first one is narrate a flashback to a time when you were in your mother's womb, that shows that even then dark entities were interested in you. So I think we are going to flash to my mother's womb. And have you ever seen the video for what's it called? The Massive Attack song, where there's a baby in a womb.
Teardrop.
Teardrop. Thank you. It's like the.
Our audience is much more
As a visual reference
informed than I am, so I'm going to go with that. Go on.
And so I'm there. I'm in my mother's womb. I am not fully formed yet, and I'm definitely an embryo, but I'm not yet a child, and yet I am talking. And I'm in conversation with someone in a language. You'd have to lip read me to tell that I'm talking, because there would be no sound other than this. But there's clearly a back and forth, and I'm answering someone and talking with someone whilst I'm in the room.
Well, that's not creepy. Okay. Okay. So that improves that removes that complication. So you are going to get a clue. The clue I'm going to give you as you glance into the nursery, and we have that kind of picture, that little flashback, I'm going to give you a clue that says a series of numbers written in an unusual place.
Okay.
And you can pick one. Do you see them even though they are behind the wallpaper?
Mm-hmm.
Are they in the ashes of the fire that was lit here overnight?
Mm-hmm.
Or are they in the dust on a mantle or dust somewhere else in the room?
I think they are behind the wallpaper.
Fine. So,
and I see them because I'm looking through my little glasses as I go past.
fine. So, as a clue in the threat tab, write a series of numbers written behind the wallpaper. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Rose, you were coming up the stairs behind Annie, and Mrs. Beale has kind of hustled Annie towards the maid's room. But you and the dog are coming up behind, and the dog is very keen to stay at the door to the nursery, if not to go inside.
The baby's already crying and stuff, isn't it? Well, the infant, yeah. Oh, that's right. I'll just quietly go in there. I'll sort of kneel down and pat the dog and have my necklace of teeth thing, and I just kind of jingle it in front of the baby to try and distract it and cheer it up.
So are you simply wanting to distract the baby, or are you after something else here?
I want to distract it, but I'm trying to see if I get through to it or whether it's been taken over by something or whatever.
Okay, that sounds like sensitivity. Does that fetish that you have with you, are you engaging its fetishistic, its magical, supernatural features or background, in which case you would roll with advantage? Or
Yeah, why not?
Okay, mark it and roll 3 dice, take the top 2 and add sensitivity.
I'm rolling shit house tonight. Okay.
So I can't remember what your sensitivity is.
Naught.
Okay, so that would be a 5. Let me offer you the opportunity to mark either a mask of the past or a mask of the future. Are you interested in doing that to turn that failure into a mixed success?
I'll do the darkened threshold future one.
Okay, so tick that. Narrate a scene in which you hurt an innocent because of your curse.
Oh dear.
I think I was sort of out in the rural countryside or something, and as I was coming back, someone spotted me going from, animal feral thing form to my human form, and I killed them to not dob me, and I had to chase them. And
we need to care about the person you killed. Would you describe them to me, please?
Teenage farm boy trying to help out. One day inherit the farm, and he's putting away the tools, or collecting the tools early in the morning, and he saw me change because I was in the barn, and I probably bashed his head in with a house brick or something.
I was going to ask how you killed him, but that will do nicely, thank you. and that will turn that failure into a mixed success. I think that she does calm, and I think I will give you a clue, a vivid dream about violence between two unknown people from a different era. So a vision in this context, I think.
Is it in the same place? So like in this house, or it's just somewhere I've been before, or?
The joy of this system is that that's all I'm going to tell you. When you come to stitch this together, the object of the clues is to leave them as open as possible till you define them down.
Okay.
Let me cut to chambers with the little boy.
I think when the boy says, there are people coming, Chambers kind of like blanches a bit and is like, are they good people, sir?
I think they've gone upstairs. I'm sure it'll be fine now. Shall we talk about the ghost?
If you want to, sir. Have you seen the ghost?
I've heard them.
Can you show me? It's just that I've just started working here, and I thought myself ghost stories are hearsay. They're nonsense, but I needed the work, sir. But can you show me where the ghost is?
And he makes a noise, and he's got new shoes on, it looks like, and I think probably to make them last, they've had a couple of metal kind of plates just attached at the heel, and he finds a bit of bare floorboard, and he goes click 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 click. It sounds like that. What are you feeling at this point, Chambers? Because I know you're creating this impression of the ingenue maid to be, but I'm curious what is Chambers, the factotum, thinking?
Gosh, it's a bit inscrutable because kind of like my basis for this character is a character from the from Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, specifically the BBC version, where Mr. Norrell has the incredibly competent but incredibly mysterious. He has a story. That's kind of my idea for Chambers. And
okay,
so I think she's like,
oh, don't leave it like that. Leave it like that. No, I wanted to know if the audience got a sense of what she was feeling. But if you want to, you want that solid kind of something odd is going on here, but I can play this game as long as you like, little boy. That's fine by me.
Yeah, maybe we get a shot of like when she goes when the boy goes to the floorboards, like her eyes just kind of like become a bit colder. For that moment, he's looking away from her.
Bit more calculating.
Mm-hmm.
Annie, Mrs.
Yes.
Beale has shown you into the maid's room, because the expectation is that she will also look after the baby as necessary.
Okay. What does the maid's room look like?
It's small, it's pokier than other rooms. It's not been decorated as recently as the other rooms, I guess. There is something unnerving about it. What is that, Annie?
It is a smell of myrrh.
Ooh. The smell of myrrh. How could that possibly get into a maid's room that hasn't been used for several months?
I think. No, I didn't mean myrrh. I went for the wrong. I went for the wrong Three Wise Men gift. I meant frankincense.
Which is associated with death rites, isn't it?
It is, yes. It is a form of incense used to cover up the smell, basically.
Okay. Yeah, it doesn't. It's unclear whether Mrs. Beale notices it or whether she's so used to it that she no longer sees reason to comment on it.
Yeah, I say to her, I kind of sniff theatrically and say, frankincense is something, not that it overly concerns me. I mean, these girls have lived through worse, but is there a problem with smell in this area? I just worry about the miasma affecting your infant.
I think I'm gonna go back to the information move.
Cool.
And again, I think it's is it composure because you're kind of, you're walking the edge here, or is it?
I
is
think
it still
so.
reason?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
I think this is going to be composure,
Fine.
and my composure is 0.
Okay.
Yeah, because I have been way too rude to this woman so far. That is a 7.
Okay. So on a 7, she says, I'm again, we're at this place where she is, at any opportunity now, she is going to rumble you.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, look, I think these questions are becoming far too personal. Leave me your card and I will be in touch. But I think that what you will get is the smell is coming from a window. There's a crack in the glass in the window, and it's almost like the frankincense is coming from the direction. Your attention is drawn to that window. But where you should be looking out, at the back of the terrace on the other side of the gardens that separate these two houses, you seem to be looking out into parkland. And the clue I'm going to give you is I can never find it again when I want it. A view, a window onto a different view. A window onto a different view needs to go in the clues tab, the threat tab.
So it's either another place or another time, but it's not.
Could
what it
be
should
either.
Be,
Could be either.
And I say to Mrs. Beale, I suppose you can remember when all this were fields.
Before you go there, do you want to put on a mask to
No,
improve
I don't.
that?
I don't think I'm gonna.
Then I think she's going to ask you for your card and say, my husband will be in touch. I'd like you to leave now.
We don't have a card. I will be in touch with you once we've decided if we wish to send one of our girls to your frankincense enchanted room. Good day, madam.
Rose, are you going to stay hidden in the nursery, or are you leaving when you hear Annie clickety-clack, clickety-clack, clickety-clack out?
If the kid seems okay, then I'll leave. And I'll say to the kid and the dog, I'll be back.
And the dog looks at you and looks at the baby and curls up. That doesn't get, no, it takes that kind of sphinx-like appearance that greyhounds can take beside the crib, just looking at the door, looking at the window. Yeah. Chambers, the little boy, the master bedroom. Where do you want this conversation to go?
I think Chambers is gonna scooch up to like the boy and it's just like, is this ghost bothering you, sir?
It depends what you mean by bother, really.
It's already, you say it's already.
I think it bothers you.
Well, it should. You said it's already killed the maid.
I think you should leave now.
I want to suss this boy out. He has like big vibes. I'm just trying to figure out how. I think Chambers is gonna like take maybe one. He's already telling me to leave, but like I think she's gonna try to ask one more question, and see how he reacts. I think like maybe a bit of that steel slipping to her voice. Are you friends with this ghost, sir?
He smiles at you. Cut to the hall, where Annie and Rose are being shown out by Mrs. Beale, just as Mr. Beale returns home, having been for a walk with his son, Roger, a boy of 8, 9, 10 in a sailor suit. And I think that's the point at which we'll cut until next time.
That's a creepy boy. Did not like the creepy boy.
I'm not sure I can come with a better session end than that one. So forgive me if that seems like you're being shortchanged.
No, not at all.
I would like a quick stars and wishes, please, if we're agreeable, just in terms of where we're going. And I want to try something with wishes that kind of that might shape where we go next time. But let's start with stars again, because I lack imagination. Blake, let's start with you. Any stars?
Yes, stars to Leandro for playing the meek, sort of self-effacing sort of servant, and that it's not always easy to pull off, but he did a great job. Stars to Ollie for like having the broken shard of pottery. She's going to gut the dog and get the ritual off. It's like she's got a nice veneer, but there's a psychopath under there.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't disagree with that.
You know, stars to you, Alan, for going back and forth, giving us sort of room to do stuff, but making sure we're all interacting and doing stuff.
Thank you for that. Let's go to Leandro next. Leandro, any stars?
Yeah, I want to see. There's a lot to like star, even as we're just starting off. I don't know the whole interaction with the dog from like, oh, I suppose the dog's here to fire off this move. No, wait, I've got this move that can look into their soul, which is just wild. Really shows the
you know, you've got 2 moves and 1 animal. Who gets there first?
The one that doesn't have to roll and probably doesn't have to create a bloody mess. Dude, curious to see when that fires off. I do just love the whole setup of today being like, oh, I'm here as to be an agent of an employer's agency. Here's my ridiculous American friend who Annie did not explain at all at any point. I don't even know if Rose said anything to anyone. She was just there. It was amazing.
I talked to the dog.
Exactly. Yeah, that is the only member of the household that Rose directly interacted with, apart from we believe a ghost.
Yeah, the ghost and the dog. You got the priorities.
Mrs. Bill never asked, and so I offered no explanation.
As soon as it felt like an opening was going to appear, Rose rolled fail, and ghosts happen and shit happens.
Yeah,
Blood spills out as carnation. I mean, God, the woman's a walking ghost magnet. Anything else, Leandro?
Yes. I do want to appreciate Ollie like taking the reins, being the face, so to speak, of this group, doing quite a bit of the heavy lifting in terms of sussing out the ghost stuff, interacting with Mrs. Beale, which is always appreciated. Of course, always a big start, Alan, for us always keeping us all together. I always really appreciate, and this probably says a lot that I don't experience enough, playing a British setting with authentic British people. It really adds to it.
Oh, shucks.
Mrs. Thicket knows her place. She looks up to Miss Morrish. Thank you for that. Ollie, any stars?
Yes, I want to have a star to Blake for the very sad story of the farm boy. A star for the extremely creepy boy in the sailor suit, who I did not like at all in the best possible way, and a star for to Leandro for Chambers' initiative and just going off on a completely different story without it feeling. It felt like what should be happening at that point, that we would all sort of approach from different angles, and that worked really well.
Yeah, look, I will admit that I was slightly nervous when, you know, two characters go to one door and the other character goes to the other door, but that went really well, I thought, in terms of you know, finding out, almost having two separate investigations of the house going at the same time. So yeah, I would endorse that initiative from you, Leandro, for saying, okay, I understand you need, so, you know, or I can't even remember if you offered or whether she assumed. I've got a broken vase to deal with. You look the part. Get to it.
Yeah, I think it was her initiative. Like, I just knocked on the door, and thanks so much for just sweeping.
So my
Chambers
apology
in.
if I ruined what was a carefully thought out plan. Ollie, Annie is a two-faced bitch. She is just that. She has no acquaintance with the truth.
No,
There
not
was
yet.
nothing she said in that even came approached the truth. And yeah, Blake, you know, Rose as the silent but peculiarly connected kind of partner in that trip around the house. That was all great stuff. Thank you. And yeah, just generally committing to character, folks. Thank you for that. That was good stuff. In terms of wishes for next time, as well as any general wishes, I am curious which of these non-player characters that you've interacted with, is there one who you want to see more of, or do you feel you've wrung them out? And is there an approach you want to take to this investigation that we could touch on? And because what I'm thinking at the moment is I want to give you experience of the phases of the game. So my inclination is to, apart from a brief conversation with Mr. Beale, I am inclined to kind of almost cut to the next phase and leave our audience and you uncertain what happened in that bedroom. Yeah. I'm just toying with that, but
I'm kind of thinking we've planted our sleeper agent, so he stays there and, you know, gets the lay. Sorry, she stays there, gets the lay of the land, and then we'll meet up with her later. Maybe she'll let us in the side entrance at night or something. I don't know.
So that's what I want to kind of get a kind of quite specific-y wishy thing from you, because I think with these investigation games, there's a risk that we can kind of just go off on one. So Leandro, is there anything you particularly want to see? Is there a move you want to engage with next time, for instance?
I think, well, for one, I kind of want to retcon the whole driving up there, because otherwise I wouldn't.
I think that's quite fun, though.
I'm sure Rose has driven a buckboard in her time.
Okay, yeah, that's fun. Then Chambers drove the carriage race up knowing she was gonna try this out, and okay, that's great. That's fun. Yeah, I think I definitely I mean, my main thing is just like, I'm just curious to get stuck back into this, because last time I played was 2018, which is like, you know, 5 realities ago. I don't think we even played together, Alan, when I played this.
No, that's probably true. That's probably
yeah.
true.
Jesus. So I think I do want to try to trigger this information network that Chambers has, because I want to start hinting more at the life she had, whatever that is, she has outside of London.
Well, as I say, very happy. You know, if even in today, if you had wanted someone to knock on the back door, you know, that's fine by me. You know, we can retrospectively have called on them to be somewhere, because it's an indication of how well, you know, you are the brains of the outfit in many respects, because you're always foreseeing the need for, you know, the whore, the urchin, the butcher, whatever, you know. I mean, there's a governess.
Another option is she made a good impression, so maybe she gets sent out to do the shopping, and she can meet with her network while she's doing that.
Lots of possibilities. Lots of possibilities. So I see. You know, if I don't remind you that that information network is there to be used as you want, other players, please remind me to remind Leandro that that information network could be activated at the drop of a hat. Really, yeah. Anything else?
I don't think I have anything incredibly specific. I'm just like, I'm just curious, like, to get stuck back into this, like, because a lot of it is somewhat the same, except obviously the stuff brought in from Brindlewood Bay. I'm just curious, like, start solving mysteries, you know, answering questions. I think that's
Yeah, well,
the
you've
main
got
thing.
quite a lot of clues going already. You know, so
I think we're good enough to answer the first question.
you have. And maybe that's where we want to go at some point next time. Okay. Moving along. Ollie, any stars? Sorry, any wishes? I beg your pardon.
Any wishes? Yeah, I want to see more of that creepy little boy, whoever he is, possibly a ghost. if not the ghost. I loved him. I would like you to go like that little bit harder on us, so that I really want to choose the Janus mask. I want to see some really horrible things happen to Annie.
Fine.
And I think Annie also has probably developed a doomed crush on Ginny the ghost, and so is going to add her to her list of conquests.
I think Ginny would count as a dark entity if you wanted to go there.
I think so.
So hang on, I'm just writing down crush on Ginny, the ghost, inverted commas. Okay.
I think Annie has a thing for doomed people,
particularly if they're already dead.
That's like extra doomed.
That's as doomed as you get, frankly.
Yes.
Okay.
Double
okay.
dipping.
Okay. Well, I mean, just to make you aware here, when you discover which part of the house the ghost is attached to, you get access to a new move that is available to all of you at any time in the future, which is about connecting a building to a ghost. So you know, we might be able to have Ginny on the move. I don't know.
Cool.
Okay. Wishes from me. Just I would like to show you the cycle of the game. So I am inclined to move us on to the next phase and then see where that takes us, because the night move I think is quite fun. The night phase is quite fun. Okay. With that, I will just stop the recording. So thank you all for watching us, the thousands of audience we have.